Hey there, guys, it's Metro, and we are back with another entry in the series where I am re-evaluating every single dungeon with the cumulative knowledge I've learned from season one going into season two, applicable for pugging, blood DK, blah, 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 blah. So let's take a look at Theater of Pain. This is the dungeon that if you're playing with blood DK, you're going to do some really, really, really cool things. So why wait? Let's get to it. Now, this opening pack is one of a bit of contention, and I want to talk about this at length right now. This pack is a relatively difficult pack. I honestly might be one of the hardest pulls in the entire dungeon. And, Blood DK has been in a weird state early on in season one, and now kind of into season two, I'm feeling a lot stronger. So I'm getting a lot more aggressive with this pack to the point where I could see maybe pulling all of it with the boss. The problem with doing that is this guy here, he's caster. He's going to sit in the back and cast. It's going to be very difficult to corral them all. So instead, I propose a second option. I think this is the option I will do every route besides on bolstering. So the week we're recording this is a bolstering week. You do not want to pull trash with the boss on a bolstering week, okay? So anyway, what we're going to do here, before I even say that, what I was thinking about doing was pulling these three with the rider. And that's fine with bolstering because, it's whatever. You just kill them evenly. It's not a problem. But we don't actually have an enraged dispel in the group. So if you're not aware, the rider, he does this big AoE. That's actually some kind of enrage buff that he puts on himself. You could actually just stop it by dispelling the enrage. So Druid, Hunter, or Rogue can get rid of that. The rest of these mobs, I mean, they die so fast, it's not really that big of a deal. But these guys, they do a ton of physical damage. And when they're low, they do this death wish mechanic. So it's not a bad place to do a little kiting here. You'll actually be surprised at how dangerous that pack can be. But yeah, just kick the dude and kill the two fast and you're good. But it's, first pack of a dungeon. So everything usually dies fast. It's a bit strange because that's the only time those two mobs appear in the entire dungeon. And they're probably the hardest mobs. I mean, I genuinely think they're the hardest mobs in here to tank the entire way through. So we're pulling this slow. This is the way some groups might do it. You could do it this way. You upgrade keys like this, no problem, especially if you don't have an enraged dispel. This is up to you. But I normally, if it wasn't bolstering, I'd be pulling this mob into the boss. Now, the same problem is still going to apply. If you don't have an enraged dispel, yeah, you're gonna get you're gonna get hit pretty hard in this first boss because of the mechanics of the boss plus the dude doing it. So I don't know, man. It's just kind of an unfortunate circumstance that's occurred with this season. A lot less people playing Druid and Hunters and Rogues, not the most common, I suppose. But anyway, we got the first boss of the dungeon. So guaranteed lust here. I would not even think. I mean, always lust here. You got 3 targets. This is a great fight for pretty much all the hot classes right now. But the question always comes up. People constantly ask me, what boss is the target here? Okay. And honestly, I don't think it really matters. There's one caveat to that. And that is that this dude I'm targeting right now, Decia the Decapitator, does a Mortal Strike. If you're not aware of what a Mortal Strike is, it is a massive healing reduction. So as a Blood Death Knight, you really don't want that out there, okay? The less Mortal Strikes you take as a Blood DK, the easier any combat you're going to be in is it's always going to be easier, okay? So, but the other thing is these two guys constantly cast spells, and that's not really an issue to me. Like, I don't really want those things to die fast. I don't really care if they do, okay? But that guy, he does something that sucks. So if you're asking me that question, it's always going to be the big guy. And you see that charge over there, that is also an enrage, apparently. You can also remove that, I believe. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. But I guess he puts a buff up on himself that can be removed. So there's a lot of things in this dungeon. A lot of interrupts. This is a very interrupt-heavy dungeon. A lot of enrages and a lot of magic dispels along the way. So a lot of curse dispels, too. So really good dungeon to have a druid. And Shaman also could be very valuable here. So, but yeah, you see that Mortal Strike hits pretty hard and obviously allows me to heal a lot less. So now on Necrotic Week, hardest boss, but hardest dungeon in the whole game. Also, I should mention this, little bit of a thing here. If you guys didn't see, this mob has returned. Okay, so if you played in the beginning of season 1, Xav the Underhand. It's like a 4th target. Apparently there was a bug here. I'm not 100% sure what was going on here, but I guess it had something to do with the weird platform issues this dungeon used to have. So they got rid of this boss. They got rid of this part of the boss in season 1. They figured it out. They fixed it. So now it's back. Very, very, very simple. It's casting a stun, like a channeled stun on a target. I don't think it'll ever pick the tank, but maybe if like somehow there's nobody near the mob, it will go pick the tank. Just be aware of this and make sure that you stop it. You can stop it with literally any spell that will knock back, stop a cast, like a knockback, stun, grip. Obviously, just a single grip will work too. I've also seen people do something that like makes it like common attack. I don't really know what that is. And then you just fight it for a few seconds and then it runs away. I'm not really sure. This fight is, I'm not gonna lie to you. This fight, when I made this video for season 1, I had no idea what was going on in this fight. Like I couldn't give you a detailed breakdown of every one of these mechanics. And now it's season 2 and I still have no, like it hasn't advanced. And I think that sounds pretty dumb to say out loud, but it's like actually insightful. Like I have no idea what's going on in this fight and I kill it and never have any issues with it. The only thing that's difficult in this fight is the guy who does the Mortal Strike. That's it. Interrupt the other mobs, keep them together, make sure people AoE, and always repair before you go down. There's no easy way to repair once you're down there, but you could repair up here. So just in case, make sure after you kill the boss, mount up, repair, and get ready to go downstairs and make your route come to life. So for me, we're talking about the route that I've done in the route guide. If you haven't seen it, it's a little very particular actually. So it's probably not what most people are going to do. In fact, a lot of people are saying I'm doing the dungeon backwards from what other people are doing now, and I think that's a good thing because I'm doing it with great conviction as a Blood DK. You're going to see there's always going to be a lieutenant as you land, and this is always either going to be Varuth or Sogadon. So very, very, very good start for me, especially as Blood DK. I love seeing those guys. And then we're going to go get the second of the two in the next wing, and that's why we're doing the route we're doing, partially. The other reason is there's a very, very, very high target mob there that we can mind control. If you're not aware, Blood DK and DK in general has Control Undead, which allows you to take a pet for 5 minutes. That pet is going to be probably the strongest possible target you can control undead in the entire game. And it's going to not only help us, but it's going to help the whole group. So we're heading right there. Oh, I quacked that guy. We're heading right there, and we're going to make sure that we get that guy for as long as possible in this dungeon, because man, is it going to be awesome. So that means we're going to the military quarter first. All right, Chamber of Conquest, as it is. I don't know, it's Halls of Might, apparently. Okay, so anyway, this first pack, not much going on here. We have this Arbalest, which is actually a lot more difficult than you think. This would actually be a pretty good target. Like, I was thinking about actually just mind controlling this guy and then killing Sogadon and pulling Sogadon in with these other two, because the other two don't really do anything. And then keeping that guy and taking him and killing him with the next mob. So you're always kind of fighting. It's like instead of 3 pulls, you're fighting in 2 pulls. But again, it's bolstering, so we're not doing it on this recording. But anyway, yeah, that pack is actually pretty dangerous. And that's part of why the pack I'm talking about with the champion in it is also dangerous. So still have not mastered this. Shaman's going to get gripped in there and punch. I just don't understand who it picks. Like when it doesn't pick me, I don't fully get that. But anyway, Sogadon a little bit of a pain here because he's kind of off in the corner now. Funny little story. Stein was actually telling me about this. They skipped Sogadon accidentally. Like they just forgot about him, I guess. I don't really know how you accidentally skip a lieutenant. But anyway, he said they accidentally skipped Sogadon. And then they did the fight, and the fight actually throws you down here. So if somehow you were to skip the trash in this room, you would just body pull it when you get thrown down here. So that's including Sogadon. So yeah, I guess not an option to skip Sogadon in here, and Varuth as well. I guess I would agree to not skip regardless. So he's the other option in this slot. Okay, so now we have the 3 mini bosses coming up, and these guys are actually like 50% of the trash in the dungeon. And this is why I love and hate this dungeon. On a week like this week, bolstering is clearly a major portion of the difficulty of any dungeon, right? Well, what happens when, like, these guys give 7.38% per mob, and they're just a single mob. So there's no bolstering issue, and quacking is, like, not really an affix regardless. So it's like, okay, these mobs have no affix, right? Like, that's a really good thing for this dungeon. Yeah, a lot of your count is just going to be single targets. So I think this makes a very easy dungeon on most weeks. And I think it makes a very easy dungeon on tyrannical weeks as well, because you have 5 bosses and then a bunch of single target trash. Look at this guy, by the way. Doesn't even try to move on. Okay, see you later, buddy. Oh, man, Ellie Shaman has been just a pleasure this season. But anyway, Yeah, I will say that this is probably the easiest tyrannical dungeon to pug because it's just a bunch of single target instances. Like, wow, how would you not be ready for that? Like, that's all there actually is single target. So anybody who comes into this dungeon ill prepared for tyrannical is useless and hopefully doesn't exist. Whereas, like, I'm saying this because, like, a lot of times on, if you didn't miss tyrannical, people like try to do like 40k overall instead of kill bosses, and you wipe because people don't have good boss damage. This dungeon is all single target, so regardless, oh my god, I just love this dungeon. It's like such a good pug dungeon. There's no concern, there's no questions about what we need to do in this dungeon to succeed. And these three guys are a big part of it. So, like, yeah, their mechanics fairly obvious. I don't think I need to talk about most of them. We will talk about one coming up, though. Obviously, dodge the ground smash. But a bunch of mechanics that you can dodge on these few mobs. But the thing is, there's one of two mobs here. It's not always Heathen the Breaker. It's some other person too. You could fight one of the two, and there's actually a way to game that apparently. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't really understand how to do it perfectly, but we're gonna take a look at it in this footage because we have a good example of how to handle it here today. But yeah, this guy again. So actually, another mistake I see here all the time, and maybe we're seeing it in this group. We legitimately are holding CDs. People hold CDs for these two mobs, and they want to go nuts on this pack. It's a huge bait. Don't even think about doing this. If you're playing a DPS and you're holding CDs for these two mobs, you're basically just wasting a use of the spell. Those mobs take like many minutes. And here we go. Control Undead. Now, he buffs the group, okay? This is actually an insane Control Undead. He is going to give everybody, if I remember correctly, 2% extra damage, and I think it's like 5% AoE damage reduction, which I don't know how valuable that part is, but literally a 2% buff for having this pet as long as you can have it. That's ridiculous. There's nothing else like this in the game. Okay, we want to talk about that too, but I will say though, when you control undead, a mob in a 5-man, it used to just do exactly what it did before, but they were smart this expansion. They figured out a way to make it not do that. They make it do a much weaker version of it. So in the Plaguefall video, we talked about taking the dude who puts the shield up, and that's like a 60% damage reduction. It's only a 10% damage reduction when you use it. It's the same thing with the captain. I think he makes these mobs do like 15. I actually have no idea. I have never fought this captain before. I've only ever done this dungeon. Well, I mean, that's not true. I have played it on my paladin, but regardless, I've never actually paid attention to this captain. So, okay, so let's take a look at what's going on here. Because apparently, the way that this decision is made by Blizzard is whichever mob has attacked last when you approach this threshold is the one that will aggro. First of all, I can't really figure out what the threshold is because I've tried to make it aggro, and it seems like there's some variability there. It's not just that inner ring. Second of all, I don't really understand what constitutes an actual attack. Hopefully, some people will comment and lend insight to this because I'd like to learn about this myself. But the only way I've guaranteed it so far has been to just blink. So you see, I see that big attack, and that feels to me like, okay, that's definitely an attack. But they're meleeing each other so substantially. So I was looking at that. I'm like, well, that's it, that's it. And then like I hesitate because I see they're meleeing each other back and forth. And it's like, oh my God, how are you supposed to figure out? So we do successfully pull it off. Wreck the Hardened has used a bloody severance of some sort, and this dude is dead. So we win that combat there. And if you're not aware, the other guy is extremely difficult. So I will talk about that one because it's very, very difficult. So this one's like a joke. This one doesn't do anything. It's like twice as easy as the other one. The other guy does one very, very key mechanic, okay? And it's this AoE ground stomp hits all 5 players. It does a ton of damage on fortified, but then it follows it up with like it picks a single person and throws an axe at them, okay? It's a big red circle. That mechanic is actually line of sightable. So what you can do as a tank, you can drag it up to one of these stairs here. I don't know if they actually matter which ones. I've been dragging it up to the back one. And then you can line a sight around the edge of the stairs and you won't get hit by that mechanic. And in season 1, when we were doing the fortified keys, I'm not really sure. It feels like it's not as dangerous in season 2 because I did do it in this 19 we did the other day, which was not a very successful run. Otherwise, I would have showed the footage of it. But Yeah, it didn't really kill anyone. No, nobody seemed to know that you could line of sight it, and nobody successfully line of sighted any of the abilities, and nobody died. So that's a 19 fortified. I don't know if they changed it, maybe they nerfed it, but regardless, it can still be done. If you fight that guy, Nevermore, Ardent Nevermore or something is his name. It's a very, very dangerous. Certainly the hardest of the 6 possible mobs that you would fight in here, and this is a relatively easy one comparatively. Like, this actually does nothing. I mean, does a tank mechanic? Yeah, okay. Thanks for stopping by. But anyway, that's pretty much it. So you got the pet. You should have lust up here. Key thing is having lust up here. We lusted on the first boss. You want to have lust for 4 out of 5 bosses. It's a 37-minute dungeon. This is a very important part. If you watched the Mist video, we talked heavily about bloodlust. This is just as important. You need your route to facilitate 4 easy bloodlusts. It should be very, very, very easy to do. You'd have to really mess around to not do this. But there's a couple routes that I have seen that do not do it because of the way they pull in and out of the wings. So instead of doing that, we're going straight this season. Just go wing to wing and no problem. First mechanic on this boss, brutal combo. Does a lot of damage. Not quite as bad as the Sanguine Depths mechanic, but definitely warrants some timed death strikes. Then oppressive banner. Always switch to this. If you're playing tank, especially the other times they spawn, there might not be DPS up. You might actually be one of 2 players alive. Well, like 1 DPS, you and a healer. You're the only 3 people. You all have to attack it. Okay, so as you see, I actually got here a little bit early. Is that what happened? Lust was not up. No, the guy just forgets to lust. Okay, no problem. Don't worry about it. But yeah, lust should always be up for this fight. And that's it. He's going to take 2 people down constantly. So it's a very long encounter. You see, we got the boss to 55% before that actually occurs. And now again, when they're down there, that's where I was talking about Sogadon would be down there with them. So you can actually see that's just a room that we were just in. So no way to skip Sogadon, or you have to be extremely clever to be able to do it. And then the winner, the one guy just fights the other guy, basically. Like, it's PvP effectively. So somebody has to win. And if you don't win, yeah, you're just stalling. So definitely don't stall. A lot of times people used to talk about it, be like, hey, I have CDs, so let me win or something. But I don't know. It's just kind of, I don't know. I've never played a DPS, so I don't know how people handle it down there. But realistically, it's just a minor thing. Just make sure you get off. But you see, he's also doing this damage reduction. This is actually like, this mob is doing more than one thing. So it just did a Demo Shout, which I believe is a 10% damage reduction. You see? He just applied an 8-second 10% damage reduction to the boss. And he also has an interrupt, which doubles his damage. So this dude is not doing like the most damage of any mob that's ever been mind controlled, but it's very, very useful. Like well, actually, that's just stupid to even say that, because I guarantee you that this pet is contributing more damage than I could ever do with a single pet. So yeah, it's pretty nice. But anyway, that banner is more important than it looks. If you don't kill it, it continues to stack up a slow. As a DK, I don't notice it, but it's really difficult to dodge the mechanic if you're slowed like that. So yeah, you always want to turn to that thing, provided that you don't only have a few seconds left. And always death grip somebody here. I'm going to show you this is a really big play here. And I'm going to show you why. So anyway, that banner spawns, no problem kill. So these guys are hostile to us. The warlock rightfully rejoins our team, or the shaman rightfully rejoins our team. This warlock's just an idiot. He's from Azralon. So honestly, like, I don't have any respect for this guy. We're gonna death grip him, and he just deserves that. Like, I mean, that's what happens when you go against us. When you're on my team, you forfeit our friendship by leaving, and the mage accurately points out that the warlock deserved that. So anyway, one of the big reasons we are now doing the Plague Wing, whatever you want to call it, is because the mob can come with us, no problems at all. Now, if you did the same mind control in Season 1, you will know that the mob was not able to come upstairs. This was usually the last wing you did. The military wing was usually the last wing you did. And then the mob would have all kinds of trouble getting upstairs for whatever reason. I think it's because it's a really long run, okay? But this time, this mob has absolutely no problem getting to us, so we're able to keep him. And that is awesome. That now is 2 wings with a 2% damage buff for the entire group. And that is awesome. Anyway, those sludge dudes, sludge spewers, bladed sludge spewers, very important mob. We should probably go back, because there's 4 important mobs in this hallway. We have diseased horror. That mob is going to put up a meat shield, so you want to always interrupt that. Just standard interrupt. Blighted sludge spewer is always going to do withering discharge. If that gets off, it puts a massive damage reduction on the entire group. I think it's a healing reduction too. It's a very, very bad thing to let get off. You don't ever want to let that get off. And it, you know, this is a pretty important moment. And then when they die, they explode. You'll see the green puddle. People get hit by that all the time if you pull really big here, which is what I would be doing if I was doing a non-bolstering route. I would definitely be pulling all of these together into one pull, and big AoE coming off the boss there. Anyway, this putrid blight bag butcher, putrid butcher. Okay, so we actually made a clip about this a while ago because this mob does this ability that it tries to bite you like that, and if it does, it gets a very good taste. It gets so strong, it heals a bit. Okay, now that's not a good thing. You obviously don't want trash healing. So what you can do is you can stun it to stop the cast. You can't do anything else seemingly. You can't actually just straight up interrupt it. Grip doesn't work. It'll continue to cast while it's being gripped. Knockback, same deal. But yeah, probably hard CC will work too. This mob heals for a fair amount. As you see, it's based on how much damage it takes, or how much damage I take, so I can use things like Icebound to reduce the damage I take from that mechanic, and it'll heal less. But realistically, it should be stopped. Everyone should try to stop it. There's this mob here, and then another one coming up, and then another one in the next pack. So we failed to stop the first one. Then we failed to stop the second one, basically at all. But honestly, I was like parrying them or using defensives, and this hunter leaves. He like literally leaves over it. He's like, rogue, do your job, basically. And the rogue that's signed, he doesn't, and he just leaves. It's like, this is a tank mechanic, dude. What are you getting so worked up about this for? But yes, obviously you do not want to let these mobs heal. It does add up, okay? And now there's 2 of these mobs, so 2 withering discharges. This is actually a relatively intense pack mechanically. You have to be ready for it. As a tank, you're going to do a lot to contribute. And you see, if he got that devour flesh off, he would have been back to probably like 10-15% health. That's not good. That is definitely not good, because then you're kind of baited into thinking the pack's over, and it's not. So here we go. Rancid gas bag. These mobs have a frontal and a backle. I said that at the beginning of the expansion, and it's kind of lived on as a meme for a long time. But yes, they do a mechanic that is actually going from front and back. It's obviously a little bit of a joke because of what it looks like. And it's funny. It's a funny little mob, but it's a very dangerous mob. It's not that funny. Very dangerous. Puts these puddles down. If you get hit by Vile Eruption, you get dazed. It's a very potent eruption, let's put it that way. So don't let that mob hit you, because you're probably going to die, or at least other players are going to be in trouble. We used to skip that mob, and we still can. I'm sure people do, but there's a reason I don't, and you'll see it coming up. Anyway, you can easily skip Oros Coldheart here. This is him here, and probably I think most people are going to start skipping this dude. Honestly, the more time passes, the more it looks like this guy's just useless. His powers probably need to be buffed, because it's really bad compared to the other 3. And I think Blizzard might have actually done it on purpose. They might make it so like, oh yeah, you really want to skip this guy, you know? Especially because his buff is like so weird. It's like only a slow. So like if you're actually smart and you know how to do each fight, and having a slow on the last boss, it's like that's not difficult. It's not more difficult, you know? But anyway, for now, we're pulling him. I just want you to be aware. This is probably a really good... And you can just go back to skipping this guy, which you used to be able to do in Season 1 without even Shroud. You just wait for him to pat away and then run by him. That feels like so long ago now. But that's going to be that. Okay, so we're continuing to go down here. We have another big pull. We have all the mobs we just saw. We have the Sludge Spewer. We have the Putrid Butcher. And we have the Diseased Horror. So interrupting the Meat Shield on the Horror. Interrupting Withering Discharge, which my God, it fucking amazes. I try to grip it to interrupt it, but this brain dead dude just freaking Frost Novas the mob for no reason. Like literally no reason whatsoever. And almost gets us killed there. I don't know how bad it would have been if that cast goes off, but it's definitely not ideal. Oh, there we go. So the cast goes off. So it didn't really do that much damage. I could have stopped it, but I guess I wasn't paying attention. So anyway, yes, kicking Meat Shield, kicking Blighted Sludge Spear. When the thing dies, it's going to explode. So if this thing dies early, just be ready. A lot of people get hit by this. It does a lot of damage when he dies and you get hit by that. It does a lot of damage. It's probably actually more damage than anything else on the pack. And there you go. Ancient Captain coming in with the interrupts. Didn't really need it, but I will take it. It's so cool. Now this guy can actually be pulled solo. Just don't walk past like right here, this one stitching here. You can see this kind of stitching that's right there. If you walk past that, the rest of the pack will come. And I don't really like pulling that with this mob. This mob is very like kind of position difficult. There's a lot of movement, and those mobs that are with him in that area they constantly are jumping around, and I feel like it's very disorienting. So I really like to solo this, get this guy solo. And just keep dodging the puddles, dodging the frontal and the backle. You'll be all set. Then we set up a pretty big pull here. And again, it looks like it's a big pull. And I actually, earlier in the expansion, I thought like these were all the same mobs and they were all casters and they all needed to be interrupted. But it's not. It's just those same fodder mobs with one caster, one, whatever the main sledge spewer is. So one interrupt on that guy. And then we have the exact same mobs we were just fighting. The diseased horror and the putrid butcher again. So this seems like a much more logical pack, considering we effectively just fought the exact same pack, only with slightly less mobs. These disgusting refuse guys, they just die. Not much to it. They also explode when they pass away, so just keep that in mind. But okay, so no problem. So we're just interrupting here. Again, the same thing. Try to stun the butcher when he's about to heal, and there it is. You could also do a nice little play here if you don't have the pet mind controlled for some reason, which you probably do. You could also mind control that pet to stop its cast. It'll go, like, it'll happen, but it won't hit anybody because it'll be friendly. I used to do this all the time in season 1, and people kind of like had differing reactions to it. Some people thought I was trolling, and some people thought I was like the second coming of Arthas, but it's like, I'm stopping a cast. Like, that's a good thing. So, okay, anyway. First boss here. Second boss, of course, but this is a really dangerous fight, and we actually don't have lust here. So, I'm not really sure why that's the case, but it doesn't really matter. You lust regardless. Whenever it comes up, you lust. It will be up during the fight. So maybe this is partially the routing. But I guess that's mostly on Tyrannical. I've done this dungeon a lot on Tyrannical. So less is up on Tyrannical. I guess just simply because the bosses take so long. But yeah, okay. So really, really, really easy encounter. Holy Pally doing 12k doesn't hurt. Obviously, no. So there's this hooks. They come. You just need to stand in the gaps of the hooks. Very straightforward, right? Nothing really to talk about. But as a blood DK, you should know these hooks are actually a stun. If you get hit by them, they just stun you and take you to the edge, which the edge is a silence. If you stand in that stuff around the edge, you're actually like silenced. So obviously can't stand there, and the hooks drag you into it. I think it probably does some damage too. But yeah, you can actually just icebound. So if you're ever in a pickle, if you're ever in a lovely pickle, just stay icebound, eat one of the, use icebound for the tank mechanic, and then just eat the hooks and don't move. And that's like, a backup strategy. If you ever feel like you're in a real pickle, you can do that. Okay. One other big thing here, besides Hateful Strike, just make sure defensive CD every time. Great fight for Blood DK. Get those mobs in too. Hey, I'm actually gonna get hit by that. Oh no, okay, I didn't. I got hit by the knockback though. So the way that works is he's gonna drag everyone in. But if you're already in melee range, you don't get dragged in. So if you're not playing tank, you're playing anything else, it's pretty common that you're away from the boss. You see how those people get dragged in? It's very disorienting, really, really bad. And that's not something you want to happen. So stay near the boss, because sometimes they'll drag you and they'll flip your camera around. It's going to be bad. You're going to probably get hit by the chains. Now, obviously, as a tank, you don't want to stand him next to the chains coming out too. I make a relatively bad effort on that most times I do this fight, but try to keep him in the middle or somewhere else. So we actually failed to lust. I don't know. I mean, I guess the route's not flawless here, but yeah. I mean, there's not really much we can lust here, so this is a complete waste of lust. But yeah, I'm not really sure what to say about that. Anyway, we're coming up here now. This is a big moment in the key. Okay, this captain needs to die. And I'm not going to say that he absolutely does need to die. You can do a lot more with him. But there's a bit of a weird thing happen. I should have probably tried to get footage of it. It's in the spreadsheet if you want to go look for it. I had the mob, like when you get in the portals that take you from platform to platform, the mob doesn't fly. It kind of runs in the valley of what's there and then runs up the side. And when you go through the one platform, running up the side means it runs through all the trash on the right side of the platform. And it aggroed that. And we wiped and depleted a key because of that. So that's really bad. So that's going to be where we kill the mob. Just a safety thing there. Now, this is a weird spot because this is usually I try to get everything but 4 ghosts here. Typically, I would get everything but 4 ghosts in the first pull, but it's bolstering and we had the captain. I don't really know how I'm going to handle this from now on. But yeah, I don't think you want to be doing it in 3 pulls. So I'm going to tell you about how to make it 2 pulls, even doing it like this. Okay, now this is very dangerous. And on Fortified, this is a sketchy ass hallway because these mobs are really dangerous. And if you don't have good interrupts and AoE stuns, you're going to take a lot of damage from this pack. Not you as a tank, but you as a DPS. So yeah, I'm just not sure. I think what I'll probably start doing from now on is killing the pet with the fire lieutenant or the lieutenant that's over here. Okay, but so here's the new strat. Okay, so this is how you do this in 2 pulls. Now, obviously, we did in 3, but regardless, this is how you do it in 2 pulls. You just get that dude. He's the only one you need now because we're skipping the other 2. We don't actually have 2, and you don't need to worry about this. Like, just pull this with something. I don't know. Maybe the fire lieutenant is not the right choice. This guy's, I mean, I don't know. Azralan is always a fun time. But okay, so regardless, yeah, just grab that one mob. So that would have been like 3 pulls, right? So we've effectively turned it into 2 pulls because now we've combined it into the next pull. But yeah, in the old days, there would have been 4 mobs there. So we've gotten 7. I think it's 7 and 4. We would have gotten the first 7, brought them all the way back, which you saw me do. And then there would have been the 4 remaining, and we would get all 4 of those. We needed them all for count for Pride. No longer in Pride Season 1. So yeah, that's it. You just can skip those 2. They're not part of the fight anymore. Not part of the dungeon anymore. Okay, so now we do this Portal Guardian. And it's a great time to be a Blood DK. You can absolutely get a really nice AMZ down here. The problem is there's another one of these coming up, so I'd say probably use it here. It might be up for the next one. It's a 2-minute CD. You're going to probably blitz through this area faster than 2 minutes, but I think it's better to use it as often as possible, especially if you know your healer is going to have some type of damage reduction for the second one. Usually this first one's way too easy. You know, you're only fighting this, so it's pretty straightforward. And then we're going right. Again, click on that orb, put in this pedestal on the right, and we're going right. Make sure no dumbass DPS pick this up and ruin your key, like happened a bunch in Season 1. I think those days are behind us, but these mobs are must interrupts. Bone Spear is going to do a ton of damage on 4. It's probably going to one-shot somebody, to be fair. So yeah, Blood DK, again, really good in this area. You could even mind control one of these if you absolutely had to prevent the cast from going off. But yeah, Gore Fiends, regular grip, interrupt, stun. Plenty of options to stop these casts. They should never go off with Blood DK in the group. And here we go. That portal actually heals you as well. So for some reason you're worried about dying while you're going through the portal, like maybe with bursting or something like that, it heals you to full, 100%. Okay, so here we go. Hardest pack in the wing. We have one caster, that's the Magus on the left, and Maniacal Soulbinder. That mob is going to do a Shadow Bolt Volley. We need to kick both of these or Necrotic Bolt Volley. If either one of the Bone Spike or the Volley get off, you will die here with the Soulstorm 100%. But as you see, the Paladin uses Aura Mastery, and we are in effectively no danger on this side. So that's pretty much it. The big goal here is to not have him cast it a second time. That's kind of the big thing here. You know, you got to interrupt and you got to kill the other mobs too, but this second one, it's pretty bad. Now, there's also this debuff that's going out. It's a magic debuff now. I think there's also some like shadow damage taken debuff. You know, I don't really. Yeah, it went on that mage right there. I don't really know where that comes from. I think it comes from the Necro Bolt Volley dude. So just dispel that. That's why I said Shaman and Druid. Really good for this dungeon. There's a lot of different stuff that they could interact with. And especially Resto Shaman, really good to have for this dungeon. Spirit Link is absolutely amazing for that. And here's probably the funniest mobs in the entire game. They basically do 0. Like, I mean, they do this Spirit Frost, which is just interruptible, and that's not much to deal with. But then they do Death Winds, which is just a frontal. And if you get hit by it, you deplete the key. You get knocked off the platform. And my God, dude, I'll tell you what, the amount of times we've had a key depleted because a key player gets knocked off the platform and is unable to return. It happens right here. Yeah, the Paladin gets knocked off. It's just so wild. Like I really don't get it. Just stand in melee range. I mean, that's the tip I'm going to give you. Stand in melee range. Now, it's complicated by those purple swirls, which are also Curse of Desolation there. So I guess that's dispellable, another curse. But it's going to put those purple swirls underneath your feet. And if you get hit by them, you'll get feared for like a split second. But sometimes that's enough for somebody to get hit. So, I mean, maybe it's more difficult than it looks. But as you see, that guy is long gone. He's all the way down there, so he's not getting rezzed. And guess what? That means we're sitting here waiting. So yeah, very fun mechanic. I really Azralan Warlock. What the fuck? Oh man. Anyway, always a treat. Anyway, that's really bad. I hope you guys see how bad that is, right? Oh yeah, it can actually summon, right? So it's not even that big of a deal. But this is gonna waste like 5 minutes if he doesn't get summoned here. But then you got to run all the way back through the whole thing. Very suboptimal. So don't ever get knocked off the platform by an avoidable frontal. That's a really good idea. You know, when you're doing an 18, when you're doing a competitive level key, when you're trying to push score, push Raider IO, whatever you want to call it, you probably don't want to get hit by the one avoidable mechanic that could actually ruin your key. Like that's actually it. Like literally, if people don't get knocked off there, this wing is done. That's actually it. Another tip, don't go before the tank. As soon as you click that, you get ported up here and there's nothing you can do to stop that. So if you go before the tank, you're going to have threat because the tank's not there, right? The first person who lands is getting meleeed 100% of the time. So just be aware of that. Also, probably going to eat those spirit frost things. So not good. Now we are mind controlling the caster here. And that is a major play yet again. That mob is going to be obviously dangerous, need interrupts on this pack, but it's more important than that. We're also getting value on our offensive end. So that Bone Bolt or whatever, I don't even remember what it's called, the big damaging spell that everybody needs to interrupt is now on our side. So how great is that? Otherwise, it's the same thing. Don't get hit by the frontal and get knocked off the platform and interrupt the necrotic volley. And that is it. It's 2 mobs. Very, very simple. We're done. 5 minutes left. Over 5 minutes left here. So yeah, I really feel like 6 minutes is what you want to see at this point. You're not going to have lust for this one. You want lust for the final boss regardless. Even if you had lust here, you're not going to want to use it. So yes, 6 minutes is the goal. If you get here with 6 minutes, you're going to be in good shape. Now, this fight is a very, very, very easy fight. But yeah, I think it's actually it's a lot of magic damage. Let's put it this way. So if you're a blood DK, you're going to love this fight because there's going to be a dot that's going to go out. It's going to go on 2 people. It is dispellable. You'll only be able to dispel 1. So the paladin healers has to make a decision. Does he want to dispel the mage or the shaman? Does he want to dispel the paladin? Blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? When it's on me, don't ever dispel the tank like he just did. I don't know why he did that. Don't ever dispel me. Because I am a god. I guess the mage ice blocks it, so he just dispels me or something. Okay, fine. But no problem, no problem. Anyway, so yes, we can never be challenged by that. AMS, all the different stuff we have for magic as well. You should never be in danger against this boss. This is definitely the easiest boss to tank in the entire dungeon. And the entire video game, probably, as a blood DK. So make sure you're keeping that. If you have to make it clear to your party, feel free. It looks like he's getting both of them off somehow. I'm not really sure. But anyway, yes, you will have that mechanic, and it will be very, very easy to survive it. That's actually it. One other thing, don't run away from the boss. The boss cannot move. He will always stand in the middle of the room, so you cannot move him. If you try to move, he will do a casted ability instead, and I think it hits other players. It's interruptible, so it probably means it hits other players. Never really found out. So don't let that happen. Don't move the boss. You can't do it. But yeah, past that, obviously, hopefully everybody knows how this fight works. You're supposed to obviously dispel the debuff, and then if you get targeted by a draw soul, you run into those hands. There used to only be 1 set of hands, and now they've made their 2 sets, so no matter what, every time. It's just a pretty dangerous fight for the DPS, to be fair. So that's what I'm saying. The healer's job is really difficult on this encounter. You have a very hard time ahead of you, but the tank gets that mechanic. You should sweat no more. That's a really, really good thing. The tank getting it means you basically didn't have an application because he's not going to be in any danger from that mechanic. So now we take our mob upstairs, and that is great. He's going to really help us up there. It's providing a substantial amount of DPS. I don't think I showed in this run, but yeah, it's usually like a 5 5 or 6% damage gain, which is very good for a pet. And yeah, again, you can pull off the same shenanigans here. You cannot have a pet out. You cannot summon a pet when you have a pet mind controlled for whatever reason, but you can then unmind control the pet and get the pet your own. You can use your own spell, Raise Dead, or whatever it's called, to summon a pet and then get the pet again. So you effectively have 2 pets. So, okay, this is a really cool fight, and I'm not talking about the voice actress. It's awesome. I love the voice lines in this fight. Probably the coolest voice acting of any boss I've ever seen. But the coolest part of this fight is how much magic damage that you can actually deal with. So that ability is actually half physical, half magic. So as Blood DK, you have substantial, very, very good ways to deal with that. But I'm going to tell you an even better trick for AMS. So right after this Dark Devastation, the first time, she's going to cast this Grasping Rift, okay? It is a magic debuff, a magic application that goes on you. And if you are AMS'd when it happens, you will not spawn an ad, which sounds like minor, but it's actually a really big play. So you're definitely going to want to do that at least once on the fight. That big green circle is also, if you go into that, you're going to get stunned, by the way. And this is where you want to lust. You really want to lust at 50%, but I don't know. People lust on the pull now. I don't know why. It's fine. Doesn't really matter. But yes, this tank mechanic does a lot of damage, okay? But just be aware that it is magic. So yeah, you have very, very good defense against that. You shouldn't have much to be concerned with. If you have to, you can AMS, obviously. But yeah, just either get ready for Death Strikes or maybe even use Rune Tap. 1 CD for everything will be very nice. So. But that's it. Just make sure you're not standing in that. If you are about to get pulled in, you could either Icebound to prevent the stun that eventually comes out, or you can just use Death's Advance and you won't get pulled in because it's a pull in, right? So, but yeah, I always tank them on the edge here. These Yak Rider ghost things, they always come through the edge. As long as the boss is on the edge, most of the players will just be on the edge too. So the likelihood that they get attacked by them is very, very low. And that makes the fight a lot easier for everyone. So there's another pull in. I guess I failed the AMS here, but yeah. So anytime that ability is about to go out, you can actually AMS it and prevent an ad spawning. You can also Gore Fiends those ads like we did. Really, really good play. So that's it. This is a joke key as a Blood DK. Honestly, like 2 out of the 3 hardest parts of the dungeon are completely gameable by Blood DK. I love taking this this pet here. Wherever it is, it's very valuable. And again, this is probably the 3rd hardest part. Try your best. If you can figure this out, if you can make it so you always fight Wreck the whatever this guy's name is, yeah, it's a lot easier. Like so much easier. Wreck the Hardened. It's so much easier, and it's supposed to be guaranteed. Like you just have to walk through a threshold. I'm just not really sure where that threshold is. So blinking is what I've been doing. But they auto attack each other, so it's I guess you're kind of just sitting there waiting for one very clear defined ability to happen, and if you you walk past that, it will summon the one you want. But I don't know, man. Super easy key. Let me know if anybody else is having trouble with this as other tanks, because I feel like I keep talking about how easy this key is for me, and I think a lot of it is Blood DK stuff. Like there's so many good, really every single fight in here. Besides the first one, every single fight in here is amazing for Blood DK. It's like a tailor-made Blood DK dungeon. And I don't know if other tanks are having trouble. So anyway, I hope this helped. Let me know if you have any questions. And stay tuned. We're going to be doing all of these. This is now 4 out of 8. So we got 4 more to go, and then we'll be all wrapped up. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.